オーバーシーズンドへようこそ。
It's only gonna take one take.
I actually kicked him out of the restaurant.
Why?
Gotta bitch to someone.
Gotta bitch to somebody. I'm good to bitch to.
I thought you were from Spain.
Yes, I am.
Oh.
Sí soy. Soy chorizo.
Oh no.
You've gone into Martha Stewart land.
It's just not live.
Whatever.
Okay.
It's like a scene from Cocoon. Like the sun goes down.
You don't want to get blacklisted.
You know what, Mr. President? Is this what you want?
Welcome to Overseasoned. You
A
are
podcast for recovering restaurant addicts.
and current and future restaurant addicts. Some
And
of them are
those-
still in it.
Those who wish that they were in restaurants. Those who wish they weren't in restaurants. Those who
We're still restaurant adjacent.
those who are restaurant technology people that wonder why the hell did I do this to myself? Those. Who else do we do this for? For the parents of restaurant technology people that say, why the hell do we do this? And for the aunts and uncles of those.
The support system.
Yes, yes.
I'm sorry, I have this candy. I have this little Japanese candy in my mouth. I forgot to finish it before recording.
And what flavor is this candy?
It's like a lemon thing. I'm gonna spit it out.
Why?
I'm gonna save it for later. Put my little coffee cup back here. There we go.
Well, yes, because being a good chef is about sustainability. Is about not wasting.
Yes, that is true.
Speaking of the restaurant world and all the things we've done throughout our lives, Tony, I'm fucking exhausted. Like,
Yeah.
I'm so
You were
out
hard in
of
the paint last
drinking
night.
shape.
Yeah.
I have never...
We didn't eat, I think for me is, well, we did have those whiskeys, but they were small. They were like just nice little tasters. There was like, was that an ounce of whiskey per pour? We had 4 of them.
Yeah, I would say it was about an ounce.
It was just like it was like a tasting flight
Yeah.
of whiskeys, which we spoke about in the last show. So if you're not sure if we're talking about, it was in the Golden Guy, Tokyo, having some fantastic whiskeys.
Yeah, we had a bunch of great whiskeys. What else did we drink?
But then I think it's the sake that's getting me. I drink sake like it's coconut water.
it is
It just-
essentially like coconut
It just
water.
goes down.
It's so delicious.
Yes.
And
It's
we're-
hard to sip
We're
it.
in the home of sake. How can you avoid having sake?
Last night it came in like a
Like a little boat.
like a gravy boat.
Yeah, it reminded me of like if Aladdin. you
Yeah,
know,
it's like a lantern without the top on it.
Yeah, it was a cute little sake guy. Anyway, I think this all comes back to say that I remember the days, Tony, when I was a seasoned. Maybe I was not quite over seasoned, but when I was a seasoned
Just getting there.
restaurant professional, I could drink. I mean, I remember my old routine. When I was at, let's say, for example, 22 years old, when I was working at Bobby Flay Steak, I don't know how I survived. Like, it's a testament to God, the universe, guardian angels, whatever, that I'm still here. But I would literally finish a shift, go to a place called the B Bar, and the B Bar is in like the center of the casino. It was like the spot to go meet up, and there was a couple other places like the Gypsy Bar and stuff, but B Bar was late night. I used to know the door guys. They would let me in. Often we'd get like a little bit of, a free cocktail or two, and
There's all the
Always
casinos
good
always
vibes.
have this kind of like,
shout out to Anthony DePaul for having my back in those days. I was the young manager that everybody was like, how the fuck did he get his job, kind of thing, right? Like back in the day. And Anthony DePaul was always the sweetest and coolest guy. So shout out to you, Anthony, for always having my back and making sure that I could have my cocktail ready to go. So, dude, I would go to B Bar and I would drink 3, maybe sometimes 4 dirty martinis.
Yeah.
And back then, I was drinking Kettle. Kettle One, essentially 3 ounces of Kettle shaken up with salt brine, with olive brine, right? Dude, I would drink those. Sometimes it would be followed up by like a tequila or margarita. Dude, and looking back, I mean, look, let's say it was 3 dirty martinis. If I had 3 dirty martinis, we're looking at like 10 ounces of vodka. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, you have like a shot with somebody. And bro, I would do that like 3 or 4 nights a week.
Easy.
What was your go-to?
It changed throughout the
experience?
the experience. I remember it was like vodka tonics was a big thing
Vodka
for
tonic.
some reason.
Did you have a vodka of choice?
I wasn't as fancy to have like dirty martinis when I was 22 years old. I wasn't making the fat AGM paycheck.
No, let's be clear. I was the GM.
The GM. I
Yeah.
wasn't making a nice GM paycheck. I was making like
Don't worry,
$4.25
Tony.
an hour.
Don't worry. At that point, the Borgata was savvy enough to pay me as if I was the AGM. So it's not like I was making GM money. I was making AGM money.
Still,
No, I
it
understood.
was you still did well. You still did well.
I was-
Better
I
than
was doing
better
all right.
than the cooks in the back for sure at that age.
Yeah, you're right. I was.
Wunderkind.
Wunderkind. Oh, are you talking about one of the guys?
You,
Oh, Wunderkind?
you know, like you were doing quite well.
Ah, yeah. I was lucky. I had some good mentors and I had some good people.
Good opportunities.
I had
to
good
move up.
opportunities too. Yeah.
So, you know, the drinks changed over time, but there was always a lot. It was always, you know, you'd make plans to go out. Say, I'll see you at 2 because you're dealing with other restaurant vampires,
Yeah.
especially working in Las Vegas. Because-
oh, right. Well, that's the thing, right? When
And then
you're
it's
working
always
in-
about like industry night here, this, that, you know,
Oh,
so they
dude.
kind of like to take care of their own.
Do you remember the days when every bar was just filled with the tobacco-laced smog? Like your clothes just stankin'.
It's hard to imagine it was
Back
that even happened, right? Because it's so not a thing these days.
You know, and it's funny because yesterday, when we were at at our second lunch of yesterday, there was actually one really cute little like Japanese girl. I'm assuming she's Japanese because we're in Japan, but she was like eating a soup and like watching like a show, and she was smoking.
At the restaurant?
Yeah, but it was like one of those vaporizer cigarette
Oh,
things.
they have a lot of those here. I've
Yeah.
noticed that a lot.
And it was, you know, it's funny. It's like you have to remind yourself now. You have to.
It's like a cigarette they put into something, right?
It's like it's like they put the raw cigarette into like an apparatus that holds it. It's like the size of
It's not
a
like
whistle
it's
almost.
not like a vape, but it like turns it into a vape or something.
It turns your real cigarette into a vape.
Huh.
It's interesting. But she was smoking that thing, and I could smell tobacco, and it was off-putting. And I just thought to myself, like, man, like in my dad's days, my dad liked to smoke. He was fucking
Really?
He was.
I didn't know
dude,
that.
My dad loved smoking, and I feel like he would go through like 2 to 3 packs a day, and it was just
Wow.
like eating cigarette, talking cigarette, brandy cigarette, you know, yell at the TV screen because Ted Koppel said something weird cigarette, you know, and oh, dude, and so him and Larry King, right? I feel like him and Larry King were like kindred spirits. I feel like they
Your
were
dad
both.
and
Yeah,
Larry King?
yeah. I feel like my dad would light up every time Larry King used to light up on. I feel like Larry King used to smoke on CNN.
I have no idea. I don't think so.
I'm pretty. I don't know, man. There was
I don't think so.
there was a time where like cigarettes were healthy. You know what I mean? But anyway, I pose a question to you, sir.
To me?
Yes,
Shoot.
Chef Ayatsi. You know, looking back on our times, right? And part of the reason that I wanted to dive into like the old routines we had is here we are today. I've not drank anywhere near what I'm capable of. Now, don't get me wrong. You know, I can still one rep max at like quite a bit of alcohol.
1 rep max?
Yeah, that's like that's gym speak for
Oh.
the most that you can lift.
Gotcha.
So I can still 1 rep max. Like, I bet you. I mean, obviously, it depends on eating. It depends on what you're drinking. It depends on the length of your drinking. You know what I mean? But I could still put it down. I notice that when my body feels alcohol penetrate, it's like, oh, hello there, old friend. You know, like I can definitely put it down. This is not me bragging. This is not, I don't need my therapist friends
sounds a little
reaching
braggy.
out. But no, I'm capable of putting it down. But the way now, of course, I know that everybody always tells you get older and your ability to process alcohol completely changes. And, so I'm experiencing this. But I noticed that with the lack of reps, you know what I mean? Like, I am totally lightweight anymore. Like, I am exhausted. Like, we had some whiskey and some sake yesterday.
We're
no
trying to-
biggie.
yeah.
Not even that much.
Not even that much, really.
No, like I would say we had probably 4 ounces of whiskey.
Yeah.
And like the equivalent of a half a bottle of sake between the two of us.
Yeah.
And I am fucking destroyed today.
Yeah, it's part of,
I
for
feel
right now,
shit.
it's the jet lag. There's more going on than just a few drinks. There's we're still not quite
I could
in
take
the
a
right
nap
time
right on this
zone.
microphone. You think they'd be freaked out? Would that be a very American
Who?
thing for me to do? The guys, the
Looking
guys?
around this
It's comfy in here.
this
Plush.
studio and what they're doing, and it's like, talking about being a younger cook and chef and restaurant guy, we're all kind of like
Yeah,
tough and all that kind of stuff, and counterculture and
yeah,
anarchists
Yeah.
in a way.
yeah.
Like, I think about a band like Rage Against the Machine,
Uh-huh.
and looking at the machine that actually has to happen to put a song together, to put it on the radio, to put forth a
An album, or
album.
a
It is
produced piece of music.
crazy
Yeah.
balance of this going wrong, this chord. It's
Right.
it's a lot of machine happening.
It's a lot of machine.
It's a
for
lot
you-
of machine to
with
have
it-
to rage
well,
against.
And then think about, Interscope Records or whatever fucking, I think they were on, I don't know, they were on Atlantic or one of those. But
I have no idea.
yeah, they
There's
definitely.
a lot going on behind the scenes, right?
I will say this though, when you're ready to do like a squat, that first album.
Are we back
really
to
gets you-
weightlifting again?
Listen, man,
Does everything
I
go back
just,
to-
I just.
Do you want to talk about
Nope. I'm
your
just saying.
1 rep max squat?
I haven't done a 1 rep max squat. I feel
Are
like
you
I'm
turning
too old
into like
for
a
it.
meathead? Like, is that what's happening? Everything's a gym
Listen,
reference?
number-
Gym rat, that's what they call it.
I've
meathead.
always been a meathead. It's just that I've just discovered that I can be a physical meathead. But previous to my physical meatheadness,
How many reps did you do today? Do you want to talk about reps?
today I did 48 chews at least, maybe like 120 chews.
Choose?
Yeah, because the meathead that I experienced today was that delicious tonkatsu.
Yes, true.
All right, so that's what I'm saying is I am definitely a meathead. It's just anyway.
So we wanted to talk about our lives today.
So the question is, I feel like it's definitely in vogue to be, and as we get older, of course, you become more conscious, or you should become
Wiser.
wiser in your ways. And I've cut back my drinking a lot in general. What used to be 3 to 5 times a week for drinking.
In the restaurant, it's different because your happy hour is midnight to 2 a.m.
I know.
And you're surrounded with a completely different, time.
All those delicious samples. I miss the samples.
It just goes part and parcel with the life,
Yeah. And,
Because you got to wind down after work. It's hard to just go home and watch television and go to sleep after a Saturday, Friday night shift.
okay, so I think Thursday, not Saturday, right? But why don't you describe for me your typical Thursday back in the day? And let's give a specific place.
They
if
were
we
all
can.
the same day. I mean,
They were all the same.
They were all
day.
the same day. We used to joke it's every day is Monday or every day is Wednesday, I think it was. You're never quite there in the beginning, you're never quite at the end, you're just plowing through.
Yeah.
We would go to a bar called the Subway Bar.
Where was this?
This was in New York after working at Oriole.
What part of town was the Subway bar?
It was in Midtown on 60th Street. The building's gone now. It's gone. But
Oh,
it was
so-
this old bar.
So there's
run by
definitely
this
no bar there.
super old dude, super dirty, super dirty. At one point, the urinals stopped working and they just cemented them in.
What?
Yeah, it was crazy.
That sounds like it's to code.
Well, it's gone now. They took down the building, but we would go there till
Okay.
like last call in New York was at 4.
Okay.
So there was a place called the Carriage House we sometimes go to, or like an Irish bar down the street.
Were you a shot and a beer kind of person? Like you said, okay, so you went through a vodka tonic stage. What else?
Yes.
What else was like your
It was mostly beer.
emotional crutches
Mostly
of,
beer.
of liquid? It was beer?
Yeah.
And you're like a classic beer guy, right? Like, or do you like all kinds of beers? Do you remember? Did you ever go through like a fancy beer stage?
I did. It got to be a little too much. Like you just kind of want to. Maybe it's part of the age thing. You just want give me a pilsner. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I like to taste the other beers,
Yeah.
but anymore they're getting a little bit too unique. Let's say.
Yeah.
And I just want like a small. I wish they gave. Like if we could just buy a halvesy. Like taste it, appreciate it, but not commit to a full
Right.
beer.
Ooh, like a 6-ouncer.
Yeah, because now their cans are even getting larger.
Really?
Yeah, like in a 4-pack is like $22.
It's wild.
Yeah,
I went through a
So that's a
short
lot to
beer
commit
phase,
to.
but I'm not.
you're not
I
a
like
beer guy.
I like the classics. I like refreshing, simple beers. I don't want to
The beer here is really good. It's cold.
Oh.
So cold. And
super dry.
crisp. Yeah, super dry.
Yeah, I like those. I like thirst quenching beers.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
Not, kiwi sours.
Or like double pumpkin brownie stout.
Yeah, that gets a little bit intense.
It gets at some point it feels like you're actually eating and not drinking, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so you used to go to these bars.
Mhm.
Now let's say you tied one on. Let's say you had like a private party, and you're feeling a little rambunctious, or in your single years, there's like an interesting lass that is tickling your fancy. Let's say you were gonna keep going. Like, were there other places? Like, would you go? I remember my old like habits, but were there places that you would go that were late night or like after
Yeah, sure.
hours?
There's like after hours places. I can't recall. Yes. It's going deep in the bag, dude. That's a long time. That's a long time and many different lifetimes away.
Yes.
I'm going to
yes.
have to be more prepared for that one. But
Okay.
yes, of course.
Okay.
Then we went to Philly. There was always those 2 bars.
All right.
we'll
So
go to.
yes, in Philly,
The Las Vegas Lounge.
the
oddly
Las
enough.
Vegas
Oh,
Lounge,
The place in Las Vegas we used to go to was
Uh-huh.
called the Double Down Saloon.
Double Down Saloon.
I still have a lighter from there, I think, somewhere.
Nice.
It was the diviest dive bar you've ever seen.
I love dive bars.
Unless you got to use the facilities.
Right.
Then no. But
And I've been in those situations. I have.
there was also a bar we used to go to in the subway system. It was like in the subway.
Huh.
God, what was the name of that place?
There was a bar in the subway? Like, you're saying, like, you would go down
you would go
into the
down
platform?
to the subway, and it.
Would you have to go past the turnstile?
No. It was kind of like one level down, and you'd walk further down. I can't quite recall. I think it was on the east side.
Interesting.
That's going way. See, it's all coming back now.
Okay.
But
yeah,
I used to go there quite a lot. But later on.
Okay.
Later on.
This is like the 2000s in New York, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So typical day. So what time were you to report at your indentured servitude
think
of
I would-
Oriole? What time would you show up?
Depending on the day, it's around 12ish. It kind of depended
That's
on
not bad.
what lunch
What-
service, what was happening at lunch. 11ish, 12ish.
Okay. So you
Yeah.
didn't necessarily have to show up with prep and any of the orders being delivered and all that
It
stuff.
really depends on what was going on. If the suit, there was some days were doubles. Some days you
Yeah.
just show up early, and then if there's a menu change, et cetera, et cetera. So it was really
Okay.
a
So
lot.
let's call it 11 o'clock. You show up. Then do you remember like what your eating habits were in these days? Like, would you start with a little bit of, was there like a daytime staff meal and a nighttime staff
Yeah.
meal? Like there was. Okay. And so would they always like save you a quart container on the side because they cared for
I
you?
think
Or?
it would be like right around the time that lunch was being served.
Of course it would. Yeah, that's called
It's
pragmatic.
I think I would just
timing.
stop by a deli on the way and get like a egg, ham, and cheese or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Egg, ham, and cheese.
On a roll.
On a roll. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so you get one of those. You'd show up. Obviously, we'd get through lunch service. Then somebody's making staff meal. Who's making staff meal usually? Is it one of the Sues or does everybody get a turn?
Man, I really it's I think it was always I literally cannot remember, dude. I don't remember if it rotated or if it was one station's
Sometimes
job.
I wonder if it's just that
This is
we're
too
getting
off the
old,
cuff.
or if it's because you've got a kid now, or if it's because you've purposely compartmentalized all of the trauma.
Well, dude, we've done a lot of stuff.
We have done
been
a lot
from
of stuff.
restaurants to starting a
Restaurant
technology
tech thing,
company
yeah.
over the past 10 years. It's been.
I know, it's wild.
So it's been a long time since I was
actually thought about restaurant stuff.
Yeah, it kind of has. And I'll speak with old restaurant friends, and they have this recall that is just like, I remember when you did this. I remember when you did that. I remember this special. But I feel like our frame of reference has changed so much.
Yeah, it has.
So much.
Yeah,
Into
it has.
a completely different skill set we've had to learn. And
Totally.
frame of reference and different people we hang out with.
I know.
And different trade shows, different.
Yes,
everything
everything.
has
Different
changed.
times, different. Although there is something comforting about the idea that when we have to check in with Manila and the Philippines and we're back home in the U.S., it's like working the night shift again.
That's true.
It does have like a comforting feel to it. But okay, so I'll give you my old routine.
Okay.
And this is gonna be no holds
You have
barred.
good recall. You know.
I have.
You
This
remember.
is no holds barred, being 100%.
I'm always worried about you
honest.
holding your
Like
barring your holdings.
But this time I'm gonna let loose. So, a typical Thursday for me. Gosh, this is why
Where was this?
one
in
of
your
my
career?
girlfriends used to once said to me in the throes of a breakup. She said, I just don't know if I want to be with a restaurant person, and it fucking stuck with me. It stuck with me. I was like, you know what? You're right. Restaurant people are fucking wild, inappropriate, and do the following. So I would wake up generously around 11:30. Generously. This is one of the
A
beauties.
soft 11:30,
A
which
soft 11:30.
knowing you for as long as I've known you, 11:30 could easily be 3 p.m.
No.
I don't
wasn't
think you
that
did,
bad.
but
No,
your
because
sense of time is sometimes.
Spanish. It's a Spaniard problem.
Is it?
Okay, yes. It's a learned cultural.
Even today, I'll be down in 10 minutes. I'm going up to take a shower. I'll be down in 10 minutes. You were gone for 45 minutes.
Well,
I've learned to live with it.
I was trying to
But
knock some work.
I just
out,
don't
dude.
know why. Whatever it is, I understand, but just say
It's-
45 minutes.
All right, you're right. I'm sorry. Anyway, so
So it was a soft 11:30.
it was a soft 11:30. Okay, wake up. Burp out like whatever last night's Italian hoagie was.
This was pre-understanding of gluten. So
Yes, I was definitely a much burpier person back then. So definitely,
late night Italian hoagie, that was your thing?
I used to get a Wawa Italian hoagie. Oh well, let me go. I'll get to the hoagie because
Okay.
we just
We're just
started
starting
our day.
Well,
Yes. Okay,
you're going to start and end on the burp.
that's correct. Yes, that's all things revolve around the belch. So I would wake up, and usually I was running 10 minutes late for some sort of meeting
10 minutes.
that was currently about to take progress in the restaurant. So jump in the shower, hurry the fuck up. Thankfully, I was pretty good about having enough suit and clothes
Ready to go.
ready to go, right? So usually I would hang my suit jacket in the car. So all I had to do was throw my pants on and my button up and my tie. And when I jump in the car, I was ready to rock and roll, right? So jump in the car, go through like an existential crisis because I'm like late and I'm like
Still hungover,
zipping
still
through
drunk.
definitely still hungover, zipping through the highways and streets, like trying to get to, I'm just going to use Union Trust as my example in this case. We had, thankfully.
And you were driving from, where were you staying at that time? How far was your trek to work? Bainbridge?
Yeah, it was probably, let's say like 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
It wasn't too bad.
Gotcha.
Thankfully, we had a garage. And
At the restaurant.
the restaurant, we had contracted a garage that was on the corner of the, like within a city block, right? And I knew the guys really well. Like, one thing you do learn as a restaurant person is how to schmooze your way into favor of the people around you. And usually it's by buying their affection with food. So the guys at the garage, I would often bring like leftovers, burgers, mashed potatoes, whatever the hell we had, right? And so, I can remember many times like just taking the corner of like the garage. You're like going up multiple levels, like trying to find like the spot. And when you finally do, you have like this pinpoint, like drunken precision. It's incredible what you like, these habits that you form. And I remember just boom, like music stop, everything in one swoop. You know what I mean? Like turn my Xterra off, key in pocket, grab jacket, you know what I mean? And like rush through the back alley into the restaurant. So
Through the back alley so that you could pretend like you were just coming from the office?
yeah, sure. Through the back alley because it was the easiest way. It was the fastest way into the restaurant. So run through the back door. Of course, there's all kinds of action already happening. There's dish pits going off.
Deliveries.
And there's a bunch of prep happening. You go down into the basement, check to see what's going on. And then, you off to your meetings and stuff. And so do meetings, pre-meal's coming up.
Pre-meal.
Staff meal.
Okay.
And so, usually the team would, make anything from like rice and stir fry to, burgers or whatever was going down that day, right? So usually what I would do is make a plate, put it in the office, put some sort of like note on
Don't
a
touch.
napkin. Yeah. Something, one of my favorites was Jeff Thistle's. I think I have a picture of it on my Instagram. It was a picture of a shitty Elio's pizza, like one of those like nasty cafeteria, like from school pizzas.
Uh-huh.
And it was a napkin draped so delicately over top of it, and it said, "I'll kill you." And something to that effect, right? Touch my shit, and you're gonna lose a shift, whatever, right? And so we would do pre-shift. I would then go downstairs, eat real quick, and then you go through service, right? And that could be any combination of expoing or hitting tables or walking the dining room or, like putting an order together. There was all kinds of things you could do, right? So obviously you get through your shift. Towards the end of the evening is probably when I was thinking about what topics of conversation would be covered in our late night drinking binge. And
Usually it was something having to do with
whatever happened that night.
whatever happened that night at the
Right,
restaurant.
of course. And, any excuse, honestly, back in those days, to bitch, complain, whine about something, it's all in the pursuit of laughter, of course, right? But that, and we would always go visit my favorite bartender to this day. Let's just say top 5, right? Because there's many great bartenders, and I don't want to piss anybody off. But specifically, we would always, my most memorable times in those times were to go visit Marcus Versace, the bartender who was the anchor at Coco's for years and years and years. And one of my favorite things about going to Coco's, especially since we were many times I'd be closing. I'd have to wait for the last table to leave. You'd have to be, the guy who was collecting money, and then you'd have to put it away and organize it and do nightly recaps and fucking invoices and blah, 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 and all the things that drove me to drink like a cross transatlantic sailor. But anyway, so you finish your last keying of the invoices, and then you go over to Coco's.
And everyone else was already there.
Of course,
yes.
They're all there,
Yeah.
having the time of their lives, flirting the night away, just doing all the things that restaurant people do. I would show up. Now, the food at Coco's, it was interesting. It had this. It had.
I never ate there.
I have. So, it was manic, right? There were times where the food was shockingly tasty, and there were other times where you wondered if you were putting your own life in your hands.
What kind of things do they have on the menu?
Well,
Wings and
think of a pub, right? Think of like a local pub, and that's what they would have. So they'd have wings and salads and
chicken fingers, stuff like that.
Yeah, things like that, of course. But what I think, me and Cliff were probably the number one consumers of their potato chips. So they would make sandwiches and burgers and stuff, and you could upsell to fries.
How did I never have any of these? I don't remember the potato chips.
So they would have, there was a bus tub in the bar at Coco's that essentially was their storage, the little storage thing they'd use to throw the bag of chips for whatever sandwich or burger, chicken sandwich, whatever that they would sell. That was like the garnish, was like a little bag of hers.
So they were purchased chips. They weren't made at the, okay.
Correct. And many times I wouldn't make it in time for an actual order with the kitchen.
Oh,
right?
the kitchen would close by that
kitchen
time.
was done
Yeah.
by the time I got there. But Koos was the man. And Koos would always say, yo, guys, if you can hang here, I'm going to lock the front door. Hang and enjoy a couple more drinks. I got to run my till, do the payouts for the night, blah, blah, blah. Do the cash and hang. We'll hang and talk and bullshit. We would always talk about Frank Zappa or music or whatever the topic du jour was. And he'd always say, yo, I would always try to be polite about it, and I'd say, yo, is it cool if I grab some chips? And the answer was always inevitably, yeah. So I'd go grab a few bags of chips, and all that really was doing was giving me just enough sustenance.
Just to keep on going.
Well, right, to keep going, right? So, I was probably good for... There were a few, like, special drinks that we had back in those days. I would drink a lot of gimlets in those days.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know
like a real gimlet or the
like Rose's lime juice, which I think is the real gimlet, honestly.
Really?
Yeah, there. Like if you put in fresh lime and simple syrup in a drink, that's more like a Ricky.
Gotcha.
Like a gin Ricky or a vodka.
You told me something, but we were where were we? We were somewhere, who knows where, one of these countries or something years ago, and the drinks were like really tart with lime juice. They were like lime juice or citrus juice of some sort.
Yeah.
And you're like, you got to realize that when these drinks were being invented, everyone was a smoker. So they needed this like high acid stuff to like cut through that 2-pack a day habit that they had. So it was so interesting to me that like what is popular can change based on just society's things, right?
Like the golden age of cocktails was a time when every fucking person was in, a jazz bar or their local haunt, like pounding cigarettes.
Right.
So you needed these intense flavored cocktails
to taste like something.
To taste like something. Exactly right. Exactly right. So, so after I have 5 gimlets and like a couple beers.
Aren't they sweet?
Yeah, they are. Well, I also was big into Negronis back in this time too. Oh, and Koos used to make me a drink that was inspired by this guy Benjamin Chow, which was one of the guys at Morimoto, and he used to drink like a triple O 07 or some shit, like his version of a. Remember that drink, the 007?
Is it that one that was
Stolio
like-
with orange and Sprite?
But it was like an iced.
Yeah, it was
yeah,
like a crushed drink.
right. There was Sprite in it. I didn't know that. I never knew the recipe.
I'm embarrassed to admit that I used to drink this drink called a Fla Fla Floofy. And a Fla Fla Floofy was essentially like a half of a pint full of flavored vodka. This could be
Any flavor.
I think what I was into back in the day, I'm so sorry guys, was 3 Olives cherry.
Ooh.
Yeah. And club soda. And so that would be my like.
I'm remembering now like an absolute pear and soda phase.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yes, that was a good one. So look, it's really what we did was we were pioneers, and we had invented the session seltzer in advance of the complete takeover of
It's
the
funny.
beer
That's where it
industry.
came from. Right.
Yeah. So, you drink a bunch of those and you eat a couple chips just to like get you through. Because, the last meal you had was at like, let's call it 4 o'clock.
The last real meal. You've had
The calories. The last, yeah.
right.
Well, throughout the shift,
the little
of course,
grazy,
I've had my grazes. Grazes
never satisfying.
may include on the salad station, I am 100% going to eat at least 2 fistfuls of bacon lardon. Right? Those fucking... Bianca, I am so sorry. I used to fuck with your me's all the time. And it was just so delicious and so accessible. Like, we had this beautiful little wedge salad. And all the things of the wedge were just so fucking good. So you walk over, you grab a lardon, you grab a tomato. I feel like there was something that had chopped egg on it. If I was feeling really fucking into it, I would go get a biscuit. I would put lardon, tomato, blue cheese, and chopped egg into the cheddar biscuit.
Sounds pretty fantastic.
It was wonderful. It was, the little things you do. I mean, between that little sandwich and the blue cheese olives, like I figured out.
It
how to
is
sustain
it is
myself.
very surprising to wrap your head around how little there actually is to readily eat in a restaurant.
Well, and listen,
You can't just
if,
grab a sandwich,
if there was ever a night. I mean, look, if there was ever a night, every other day, there was. I don't know what prep cook didn't realize that if they left an opened can of Jumbo Lump crab, like, how like the Jumbo Lump crab would come and then they would have like a little lid that you could put on it
Yeah.
sometimes, right? Because if you didn't finish the crab,
if
but there was always like a lid, like a Jumbo Lump crab tin,
Mhm.
and there was always a time where something was needed from the walk-in. And there was never a time I did not enter said walk-in without taking my tax. And so if they're like, yo, X, we need fucking Stoli Doli, right? Or whatever the thing was that was needed. I was going to go down. Let's say, for example, we need pineapples. No problem. I got the pineapple. I'll run downstairs. I'll take
which position were you in at this time? This is your GM days.
Yeah,
You're just
in my GM days or my
coming up
Som
with
days.
excuses to
Yeah.
get back in the kitchen, walk in.
Walk in and, dude, you know that sound that the walk-in makes, like, choo-choo?
Yeah.
You just push it, and as soon as you open it, you hear the, like the hum of being, and it's just cool in there, and it's like complete silence. I used to love sometimes in the mayhem getting away from every motherfucker in the restaurant.
Just go to your
The
office.
complaining, the whining, the guests, the heat of battle, the yelling on the line, the guests complaining at the front that their table's not ready, or, the fighting, the interfighting at the table with, like married couples, and you just need a moment.
That's what it's like here in Japan, right? Doesn't that seem like what it's like?
What's that?
How you just described a night in the restaurants.
Oh, just like it's always crazy.
No, it's just here. It's just very
Oh,
calm.
it's chill. Yeah.
Do you
no.
think they have? Do you think here in Japan they have the same like desire to jump into the walk-in and?
There is an earnest. No, I wonder if it'd be cool to take a tour of a Japanese kitchen.
I've been
'cause
kind of like peeking and watching and seeing what's what.
I don't. Some of these restaurants are not that big, and I feel like they may not even need a walk-in. Maybe the walk-in's an American thing. Anyway, so you go into the walk-in. They're down strawberries for the fucking cocktail. You run in there.
You think crab or something?
Absolutely. First thing you do is,
I'm on
where
it.
is it?
I got it.
Yeah, I got it.
That Xavier, he's so helpful. He's always running around.
Always up and down
Just
and up
always
and down
ready
and
to go
up
and
down.
get me a pint of strawberries.
Dude, and so that jumbo lump crab meat was like the go-to little boop. So good. So good. And one of my pet peeves, though, I will say, was chewing in view of a guest. So I'd never overextend my boa constricting.
So did you ever? You'd have to finish chewing before you walked into.
That's
the door.
correct. Which means that I would never do more than 3 lumps. Yes, I had it timed out. It was 1, 2, 3.
3 lumps.
Knowing that, I want to savor it. I want to make sure it's sweet. It's like jumbo lump crab just is fucking. It's a nugget of just goodness. It is
True.
tender, and so. But 1, 2, 3, boom, 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 or if you're. The shrimp cocktail was not as gratifying. I don't know why.
Really?
Yeah, because you don't have anything to dip it in. Like the shrimp cocktail,
Oh,
part of
yeah.
the beauty of the shrimp cocktail
Is
is
the
the cocktail
yes.
sauce. And at least the jumbo lump crab meat was just, it
Ready to
was
go.
singing on its own.
Right.
It was singing on its own. Another surprising little snack that I would enjoy, when the guys were done making chicken stock, they'd have all those chicken backs
Yeah.
that were like spent and they were like in that stock for like hours and hours.
Yeah.
But I liked eating those chicken backs.
I'm not surprised.
They were good. Anyway, you ever eat one?
I'm
I'm sure you have. Reaching
I'm
into
sure
the
I
depths.
have.
I love how I love when you're like trying to like summon
Dude,
the
it's
old
deep.
restaurant
It is deep. It's
beast.
It
Yeah.
is deep, buried, deep, chained.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, I would say top, let's say 1 to 5 of restaurant person's normal caloric intake is, of course, staff meal, right? But then I think in order for me was bread, like all the bread service. And then it was jumbo lump crab meat was probably number 2. I was
Yowza.
on the P&L
That's
line.
Xavi's crab addiction.
Listen and look, for all the people out there doing inventory apps, I applaud you because it's a lot to be
You
said
gotta
of
look out
trying
for
to
this
keep
guy.
out.
Right.
I was the problem. I'm sorry to all the chefs I've ever worked with when they're like, why is so-and-so, like, why is seafood cost so high? It was me. But, okay, so jumbo crab meat, then blue cheese stuffed olive. And there was a moment in time.
Did you get the big? How big was the jar? Would you stuff them yourself?
We would stuff them ourselves.
Oh wow.
My brother would, actually.
Huh.
He was a good stuffer. He really took pride in stuffing those olives. And I love my brother. One of the things that was so sweet about him is he would stuff fucking olives for like an hour before the shift, and he would very happily hand them over.
Really?
Like, yeah.
Wow.
Most people.
It's not
are
like, yo,
not-
those are counted.
Well, right. Dude, often people are like, yo, man, I got to stuff those. But my brother was like,
I'm sure you were the only one who got the
no.
delivery
no,
of olives.
He would eat them too. He knew how good they were. And we would actually
It's
use
the-
really good blue
It's
cheese.
the
for
Spaniards.
blue cheese stuffed
It's the
olives.
Spaniards.
Roaring 40s. I haven't had that in so long.
It's
and
been a
it
while for me
was
too.
the best, one of the best blue cheeses I have ever had. Anyway, that was probably 3 on the list. And then just under that was like maybe maraschino cherries, the shitty ones. Oh, actually no, we were buying the good ones back then.
Amarone.
The Amarena cherries, they were so good. So that I'd say that was the top 4 caloric
Snackies.
sustenance snacks in the restaurant days. But then at the end of every night, the kitchen would give out the mashed potatoes and the cream spinach because it wouldn't really last till the next day. And you knew the moment that the kitchen was sending out mashed potatoes or allowing the staff to have mashed potatoes, because you'd look on the dining room floor and be like, where the fuck is everybody? Full dining room, right? Like there's like where people are on dessert and all that stuff. You're like, I can't find a runner. I can't find a server. Where the fuck is everybody?
We would do a family meal at the end of the day, too.
You would?
Yeah.
At Oreo?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
I'm trying to remember if it was every day or if it was just like Friday and Saturday.
Oh, what kind of things would those be?
I mean, whatever, dude. Big thing of pasta, something that was left over from lunch.
Okay.
Hoagie. There was a,
That's nice.
yeah.
Nice you guys would do that. So
And there was always these little bits of
like the perfectly sliced duck breast, and you keep the butt.
the little front end, because it had to look so perfect on the plate. Or
When,
hanger steak was a big one.
Ooh, I love hanger steak, and I liked that marinade that you guys would do.
Balsamic?
Yeah, the balsamic with like the cherry juice and all that stuff. 'Cause
Yeah.
Brian did that too.
Yeah.
I knew Brian liked me because Neil was my friend, Brian was your friend in the restaurant, but I knew Brian liked me because when he would slice down like the perfect bias cuts for plating, he would save me like one of the butts.
He
Like,
liked
know what I
you.
mean?
That's all he paid you in.
That's true. You're right.
I'd
Man,
like that.
thank
I'd
you,
like
Brian.
that deal too.
Yeah, thanks, Brian.
Here's
the butt
here's a
end.
piece of. I'm just gonna throw it away. Why don't you have it and be
Yeah.
happy?
You ever
Be
have
happy to be
pheasant
here.
before? Take the H away, and that's how I feel about you. So anyway, so I would go. So that was the eating throughout the day, and this is probably why I was such an unhealthy mess. Drinking all night, hanging out at Coco's, and then it's time to actually have your meal at like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
So 9 times out of 10, it went as follows. Kind of hammered, go to Wawa. At Wawa, pretty standard order. They had
And
chicken tenders.
24 hours.
They had
Wawa's.
24 hours. Wawa is essentially, I want to say, was 75% of the calories that I ingested from 1999 until about 2009, right? So a solid decade, right, of my...
I have never been to a Wawa.
Yes, you have.
I've definitely never gotten a sandwich from a Wawa.
Come on.
No, I don't even think of. It's a gas station, right?
It now is a gas station. Back in the day, it was like a local sandwich shop.
Oh.
It was like a little convenience
I thought it was
store.
always a gas station. I thought, like, what are these
No,
weird
no.
Philadelphians with their gas station sandwiches?
Well, it's because
know
they
it's kind
actually
of a
make
religion.
it is a religion, and they make a fresh sandwich. But
And it's 24 hours.
here's my order. It is chicken tenders because they just released the hot kitchen. It was the first time they had released the hot kitchen, and the chicken.
What do you mean
tenders-
release?
So it was always cold food. Of course, sandwiches and potato chips and Slim Jims.
And it
that
was
kind of
like
shit.
made to order sandwiches, right?
Made
It wasn't
to order sandwiches.
Okay.
Correct. It wasn't like prefab stuff. So that was originally they would only have cold stuff, but then they introduced the convection oven. I think it was a combi oven that they had,
I'm sure it was.
and they would fucking boop boop boop, and then nuke some chicken tenders. So that would be my appetizer. Like when I was like slightly drunken and driving home. God, I was so bad. Well, or maybe not so slightly drunken. I would, muckle down like 5.
Muckle?
Yeah, just like, you know what I mean? Like
never
deep
heard
throated
that
chicken
word.
tender. So I would crush tenders in a couple different sauces. They had the Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue. And then I would go back and forth with the Sweet Baby Ray's, the Heinz ketchup, and then every once in a while they'd be nice and have some buffalo sauce. So you do like a triple dip. And those are easy to eat, right? As you're driving, as you're like trying to make your way home, avoiding cops, right? And then the hoagie would be like
Were the cops gonna
fucking
take your
finishing
chicken
touch.
fingers?
The hoagie would be what you'd eat just before, in the true health forward fashion, just before you're about to pass out from watching whatever
What
fucking
was your-
Alton Brown show was on.
What
right?
was your hoagie?
The hoagie was Italian with provolone, double meat, lettuce, tomato, onion, salt, pepper, oregano, hot peppers, pickles, sweet peppers on the side. Because if you got both the sweet peppers and the hot peppers, there would never be. It would never be like a diplomatic, spread.
Right.
They
So
would
you'd have
always
to-
jip you on one. So
Right.
you have to ask for it on the side. So yeah, lettuce, tomato, onion, salt, pepper, oregano,
Oil vinegar?
pepperoncini, oil and vinegar. Yes, thank you. And then double meat, which was like another $1 to add like enough nitrates into your body that you would truly be pickled if you did die, and it just meant that your organs would be worth something, right, on the black market. Toast, right? Then when they added the hot component of food, it just changed the game at Wawa, because not only could you have tenders, you could also toast your bread. But you don't want to toast the whole sandwich, because who wants like soggy lettuce?
Yeah.
You toast just the bread.
Yeah.
All that. Now, okay, you mentioned oil and vinegar. I had a trick. So they had also released Ken's Steakhouse olive oil vinaigrette, which I don't think has olive oil in it or actual vinegar, but it tasted like it. So this packet, it was like probably a 3-ounce packet that you would normally get for the salads.
Mm-hmm.
And aside from stealing jumbo lump crab meat, I would also sneak one of those into my bag because they were 39 cents. But in my mind, I was like, fuck the man. I deserve this. I literally am probably like, I am at least 20% of the sales that Wawa does after 2 a.m. in this specific store. We were all homies. We're all friends, right? I would throw one of those olive oil or the olive oil vinaigrette Ken Steakhouse dressings, shake that fucker up, and add it to each bite in its perfect place.
This was after you got home.
Because if you get it dressed, a pre-dressed sandwich, you're running the risk of the sog factor, and you don't want the sog factor.
Yeah, but that's just a lot of work to put the. I mean, you're gonna eat it right away, right? You were home
What
in
do
10
you
minutes.
deserve, Tony? What are you willing to put in to your experience, your late night fine dining sandwich experience?
It is funny that the more fine dining the chef, the more basic their after
wants
shift
and needs.
their after shift choices of cuisine are.
So I would get home, I would sit on the couch, I would watch Alton Brown. I used to love Mario Batali before we all found out that he was a scumbag and, was shunned from the world of cuisine. But his show, Molto Mario, still to this day might be the best show. I learned a lot on his show. So it was Food Network stuff. It was like watching Anthony Bourdain and being like, wow, that guy must be really happy. And then destroying a hoagie, and like before you know it, I would wake up. I'm like, there's
the
like
couch.
a little ramekin of like pickle juice. There's the remnants, right? There's like the leftover clues of what just happened.
The same thing that happened the night before.
Correct. And just like slowly, like, get to your bed, pass out, wake up, repeat. All of a sudden, you go from 22 to 31. You wonder what just happened with your life. You look in the mirror. You look like a bloated mess. Your mother is worried for you. Everybody's telling you to go to the gym. Your dad is like, you should have studied in high school. And you wonder, is it all worth it? Is it all... Is getting that allocation of Ant Hill Farms, is this what it was all for? And yes. The answer is yes.
Yes. You turned out okay.
I'm all right. I feel better now. I'm not drinking as much. And I think the whole point of this is, we're never going to fucking get on one topic and finish it. But I will say this.
That is the point of it, yes.
I will say this. I'm out of practice. And I think on the next episode of Overseasoned,
In which country will we be doing that episode?
I think we'll probably be
Back in
probably
Manila.
Southeast
Yeah.
Asia. I think what we should talk about is, or maybe what we should talk about is, if you and I were going to redo this, or there was some horrible cataclysm and
We had to
were
go back?
forced, let's say like all the Amazon clouds like came down, like Russia finally won, or China figured out how to fucking penetrate, and they were like, you know what, we're not gonna down the fucking NSA's camera system. We're gonna destroy the most insignificant piece of technology that there is in the American infrastructure ecosystem. Shoebox. Destroy Shoebox. So they destroy Shoebox, and we're like, fuck, dude, we got to go back to restaurants. I think it'd be interesting to think about how we would construct our routine now that we actually go to the gym and stuff. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think that's a good one. Part 2, coming up, back in Manila. We have a long way to go tonight. We have to make it 6 more hours eating through Tokyo before our flight.
Yeah. And then we're going to sleep like 3.5 horrible hours on our Japan Airlines flight.
I think we'll sleep well.
Let's see. I don't know if I can drink alcohol, though.
Not tonight. Alrighty.
Enjoy your day, everyone.
Thank you.
If you eat a Wawa hoagie, think of us.